it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's May 7th. This will be our chart listing for the day, and you can see we reached really a perfect measured move today, and we did kind of get some topping action. Seems like there. Doesn't mean we're going to turn down there, but kind of fits as of right now. So we'll see if we turn down from here. This might be the middle of a pattern where we're going to get another leg down. If that happens to be the case, we're looking at selling off down to around 48.50 at a minimum on a measured move. So we'll see if that comes true. We could still be headed higher. We may, wouldn't surprise me at all if we don't retest these highs. That would be your expectation. But sometimes you get two-leg correction, and then we could start another leg up. So we'll just have to see how this plays out. But we're getting back up close to overbought territory again. So we're not quite there yet. So we could go higher. And we may go all the way up and retest these highs. So we'll just have to kind of see how it's playing out. But we do have what looks like a two-legged correction here. And if we started down, we could see a measured leg down. So I'm not sure what to expect really this market. You can see how small this bar is. The volume's is really slowed down a lot. It seems like the higher we go here, the less the volume. I guess maybe there's less people willing to buy these days at these prices. I don't know. Could just be, the start of school getting out, and maybe traders just aren't as active the last week or so. But we'll see how it plays out. The volume could come roaring back, the volatility could come roaring back, but when we flip over to the 2,000 tick chart, you'll see it was pretty quiet, very low volatility, very much lower volume. I wouldn't say very low volume, just much lower than what we have been seeing. So, but let's flip over there to the 2,000 tick chart and take a look at it and go through the trades. Okay, you can see it here. This was close to being a range day. You might argue this was a range day, but really it looks like kind of a possible reversal day. It's just hard to say. It's not really a perfect range. Just kind of a difficult. This was kind of difficult to trade in here. I mean, there's a few good trades off this. We had a consistent high here, but when you're not getting consistent lows, it's really hard to buy in here. But we were kind of looking for a top across these because you have this channel coming up, you had your break, and you had two legs up to a new high. So you'd expect prices to sell off. But we made one more push up before they actually sold off, and then we took about half of that back before it was over. And the market is closed now. It's about 10 after 4, so the market is closed. 10 after 4 central time here. So not much going on this afternoon. Real quiet. Not a lot of trades. I didn't see much that I'd be willing to risk. So, and this channel right here was so tight you couldn't even really trade it. But let's zoom in and we'll go through all these and kind of wrap this day up. 7 o'clock came just as we bottomed out here. And really, it took almost an hour for these three bars just to form. That's how quiet it was, especially in there. There's really nothing. I mean, that's really low volume for even the overnight session. So if you've been trading the overnight, I'd be very careful trading this because, I mean, 3 hours that's about an hour per bar. It's pretty low volume. So, but notice what we had here. We had a leg down, a two-legged correction, and another leg down. So we had two legs down. But because this made a new high, that makes this the second entry long right here, right off the key entry point. It does confirm that key entry point. So I like that entry. And if you take that one, that may be all you need today. It's a nice move up. And you really didn't get a sell-off until we got all the way up here to the very highs around 52.20 or so. So if you caught that trade, it's probably you probably caught a runner, and that might be all you need. Then we worked our way back here. This one was tempting. You could argue there's a triple test there, but the problem is we did have a break, but we don't have a new low in. We're not back to the trend line, so that makes that tricky to me. And so I just think it's too risky to enter right there just yet. I think you need to, and as you can see, it would have worked, but as you can see, you end up selling off strongly here, and you get you get a break and two legs down with a two-legged correction in the middle, and the second leg actually has two legs in it. So, and then we reversed and tried to make a new high, couldn't make it, went sideways for a bit, and then pushed on up to a new high. So everything played out like you would expect it to. This was a little surprising here. There was a second entry short there, and I didn't mark this, but when this broke higher and failed and turned down, you could have traded this back to the trend line. There's room in there. It is a solid bodied bullish bar, so this probably traps people. My only concern is there's no overlap here. And sometimes prices will pull back just to fill that little gap and then turn back up. So that's the reason I didn't really mark it. But honestly, you could argue for that to be green. We're in an uptrend, so you got to be careful. But that's a trap right there, most likely. But the problem is, if this would have had overlap, I would have said take this trade for sure. But with no overlap there, it could just be coming back to fill that gap and then go higher. And then, of course, you had another second entry short right here, but you've already had a break and a new low and a break of this channel, so it's really dangerous. I don't think you want to go long there because all that's still under the EMA, and this one even pushed through and ends up closing below. So I think you got to wait, and then you get a second entry right here. So now you got the two legs down. Like I said, you got a leg down, and you got a two-legged correction, and then you got two legs that make another measured leg down. So if you just use your measured leg stuff, just to kind of give some visuals here for some of you that may not can see that. And then you got a little two-legged correction here in the middle. And they're perfect measured moves for the most part, both of them. Leg down and an equal leg down, and then two legs in the middle. So sometimes that is the center of the pattern. And so what you'd want to do is then draw this and look for that to be your target. And you can see we didn't quite make that. We got really close. But when we started going higher here, that would have been your target. So hopefully that's helpful to some of you to see how the legs work. But you did get a second entry long here. Again, turns out to be a pretty good move. You might have even got a runner on this one. Runs up, gets a close outside, new high. That's tempting to short right there, but it's just too congested. Not much room back to the EMA. Would have worked. And then we just got stuck in this. And I don't see, I mean, there's some signal bars down here, but there's just not room to scalp out. And same thing with a short. Maybe this is actually a little bit higher here. I think you want it about right there. And so maybe you consider going short there. I don't even know if there's enough room to get out there. So there's just not enough room. I mean, maybe you still get lucky and get out, but why risk it? See, it's only 5 ticks there, and you would have gotten out of that one because it got one more tick, and it looks like this one got one. So you would have got out of both of them, but I just think that range is a little bit too tight, and I didn't mark anything in there. By placing this one up here where I think it should have been, you might have had room on this one. Now, again, it's 5 ticks, so didn't end up mattering because it took off, but you just don't know that it's going to do that. Could turn down, and it could turn down early like this one did, or this one, or this one, or this one. And so that's what you have to be concerned about. I think that's where I originally had it, was here, but it looks like by the end of the range, it it was more like this right here. So, of course, it takes off, and there's another trend here, trend channel here. I didn't draw this one. Let's go ahead and put it on there because not everybody can see these things. And of course, you get a close outside new high, but signal bar is no good. You finally get a triple test here. It's a little congested, but I marked it. There's plenty of room back to the midline. I think you would have had to ride this back out, this pullback, but it works. Again, there's a long here that would have worked, but again, it looks so congested. And you did break lower. It does not look like rejection there. So you want to see rejection. After this bar, now that looks like rejection, but this is a little late to be in. It's too big a bar. But it runs up, you to close outside, new high. And I think you're okay to go short right there. And then you get a lower high here on a second entry. And so, and that's, I mean, that bar's 3 ticks. This one's 5 ticks. I mean, these are great setups. I mean, we're getting back in the days where you can enter in the 8 tick rule. Even that one, 6 ticks. It's been a long time since we've been able to, enter a trade and use the 8 tick rule. I think we're back to that. And if you're not familiar with that, what you want to do is try to keep your trades within your risk within 8 ticks, going for 4 ticks. When the volatility is high, it doesn't really matter. Of course, you have to have bigger stops, but it gets so much easier to get 4 ticks. When it's slow and choppy like this, it gets harder to get 4 ticks, and so the 8 tick rule becomes more important. But once again, you can almost trade the 8 tick rule, or you can trade it here. That one you would have taken probably 9 ticks, but you're still getting back in the ballpark here. And this runs up, you get a close outside, a couple of swings to a new high. Now this makes a much higher high, so I'd want to wait on a lower high, so I'd make this one green. And by the time you get a lower high, just move too far. I don't think you want to trade that into the midline. Just a first entry here. There is a second entry here. You can't trade that on the engulfing bar, and by the time this closes, I don't think you want to go short there. It might have still closed in the lower 1/3, but there's not much room to the lows. You see how it bounced right there. It ends up going lower, but sometimes it doesn't. And so that's what you got to be concerned about. But a few minutes later, you get a hidden second entry. Notice you got a new low here. You move up, down, up. So there's 2 legs up there. It didn't break lower here. If you went to a slightly smaller chart, you'd probably see the clear 2 legs. So that's what I mean by hidden second entry. This is much more advanced, so of course I marked it green. Lower high here, but signal bar is no good. And by that time you got a new low, and there's no setups in here. And then, so now you got this big channel coming down. You got a break, a couple of swings to a new low, and now we're trending upwards. Unfortunately, I just don't see anything in here that I'd be willing to trade. It's just, I mean, this one is tempting because you got a leg down, up, leg down. So there's another probably hidden second entry, but this looks a little congested too because you got these other bars back here with stems. So, I mean, you might argue for that to be green. That's just a first entry. This is just a first entry. Signal bar not very good anyway. You might say, hey, there's another 2 legs down, hidden second entry there. Same thing here. First entry, second entry. If that was a little better signal bar, only being, 3 or 4 minutes past 2:30, I'd say maybe take that trade. But the signal bar is not very good, and you've already had your break and a new high, so I think you're better off to skip that. So it's just not a lot of volume here. It's real slow, real choppy. I mean, this is getting back to what the ES was like for years going into COVID. COVID changed everything. Since COVID, the market's been absolutely crazy. It's, it's slowed down some since then, but it's still much more volume and volatility than we had prior to COVID. But COVID changed everything. And we may never we may never get another market like that. It could come back tomorrow at the same time, though. So the market does go through phases. Nothing that we do changes, so don't be concerned about that. Everything we do still works exactly the same. You just have to, like I said, you don't get as big of moves and as hard and fast of moves, so the volatility is a little less. So you got to be a little wiser with your choices, and you don't want to try to stick to the 8-tick rule when you get a lot of the smaller bars like we're getting. So if you can get into the 8-tick rule, especially when it's choppy and sideways like this, by all means try to do so. Again, everything works the same. You just don't get as fast and as large of moves as you would get and as often as you get when the volatility is real high. But anyway, this is a pretty quick chart lesson today. There's just not a lot going on here. I think you have to categorize this just as a range day. It almost looks like a reversal day to me. There's your lows. I'd say your highs are about right there. And if we color that in, you'll see it a little better. And so there it is. I think it's just a range day. 90% of your price action is between 52.06 and 52.23.50 or so, 720.53, 52.23.75, somewhere in that range. And you can see the midline coming into play across there. So yeah, I think it's just a range day. If it's not a reversal day, it's just a range day. It kind of looks like a low volume where we might have topped out here. We might correct for a day or two or continue lower again or whatever. But we won't know that till tomorrow. So there it is. Not much else I can say about it. This is not easy trading. Somebody sent me a chart and they'd bought, where did they buy it? I think it was right here. So let's just talk about that, because if one trader they had their range drawn with the lows across here, and they bought right here and it broke higher and failed on them. And they couldn't figure out why it failed. Well, it failed because you're just buying in the midline. This is a bigger range, and I can see where you had it started it, but you can see where it pushed lower and lower and lower, and you're not getting consistent lows there, so it's not a great place to buy. Here you're getting a little more consistent lows all the way across here. Now you pushed through a little bit there, but you can still see several bars holding there, couple holding here. Then we push through and they're holding from the other side until it holds right there. So to me, this looks like the range, and the other was you were playing off a midline, and you can't play a midline. So you only want to buy the lows and sell the highs. So I hope that makes sense. But anyway, one more look at the big picture. Now let's take one more look at the daily chart, and you can kind of see how this looks like we traded up and traded down, and we closed higher, but it's like a weak higher close, and the whole bar is, it's just not a very big bar. It looks kind of like a topping action to me, and we do have two measured legs, so we'll see what tomorrow brings. No guarantees. I don't want to tell you this is a topping action when I really don't know, but it sure looks a little like it. So we'll see if we get any follow through tomorrow or if we turn down. We should come back and retest the midline here, which is the purple line, and it at least test the breakout area here, and we haven't done that yet. So it wouldn't surprise, even if we're going higher, at some point you'd feel like we'd pull back and retest that. Unless we're in a runaway trend up again, and that's not the kind of bar you see. We did have 3 pretty strong days, so it could just be a consolidation day before we take off higher again. So we'll just have to see what tomorrow brings. But anyway, hope you had a good trading day. I'm going to wrap it up. Not much else we can say about today, but we'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.